Peace, peace. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. Hey, I think you know the vibes. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I'm your most gracious and humble host, Brother Faheem, and this is the Lead with Logic podcast. Man, welcome to another episode. Man, this is a another Monday. Listen, let me introduce myself for those of you all who it might be your first time flying with Lead with Logic Air. Like I said, I'm Brother Fahim, and what I like to do here is I like to take the controversial, mundane, and sensational, and through objective data, literature, books, peer review articles, journals, documentary clips, interviews, I then extract the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so that people can live life in 3D and their enlightenment can be enhanced. This is a three-pronged program here at Lead with Logic. We are a brand, a saying, and a podcast. Listen, I'm going to go backwards. The podcast you are now in tune to, it comes on every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right. You got it, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The saying, Lead with Logic, those letters, Lead, WithlogIc. See it on my hat. See it on my shirt. Those letters stand for this, letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. Yes, that is what Lead with Logic stands for. I'm gonna say it one more time because I love it so much, and somebody out there want to hear it again. Letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. That's what Lead with Logic stands for. And I think we all know, I know we all can utilize logic. Leading with logic does not mean that you annihilate or diminish your emotions. It merely means that you control them and you make them work for you in every possible situation, in every possible way that you can. You know, emotions will never be devoid of emotion because we're human. Having emotions is what makes us human. But when we allow our emotions, which could be a bad thing or could be a good thing, but when we allow it to guide us, it can become something that's problematic for our lives. And I know we all want to be successful and we all want to make intelligent, informed decisions with our life. We all want to move in a strategic way. So the brand, it's a brand as well, right? The brand, on www.leadwithlogic7.com. Again, it's www.leadwithlogic7.com. I'm going to put that right up here in the, I'm going to put this right up here on the screen for you guys. And I want you guys to head on over there, www.leadwithlogic7.com. That's the website where you can get your hats, your hoodies, and your tees, and whatever else that you please. I always say, man, listen, one way we can combat the situation that we're in as a Black community is by spreading the economic wealth, right? Spreading the prosperity, keeping the dollars inside of our community. If we are a community, they say I've read, and you hear Minister Farrakhan, Mr. Nuri, and you hear other economists. They say things like Black people spend the most on luxury items, and we have the least in revenue, right? In income. So luxury items are like foreign cars, foreign, clothes, Fendi, Gucci, all of these things, right? We'll spend our money, the little money that we have, we'll spend it on these things. Whereas, okay, if you're gonna spend that type of money, why not spend it with your brother, man, or your sister, right? Spend it with somebody that is going to, not just that looks like you, but has the same mentality, that has the same objective, that has the same vision that you have to uplift and uphold a strong, respectful, autonomous Black community. This is the way we do it, right? We share our dollars, right? We do not get short or impatient with those of us who are small business owners. We tell them what it is that we want. And we say, hey, listen, I want to shop with you. I want to enrich my community. I want to help you because when I see you, I see me. That's what we do. And so, yes, uh, that right there on the screen, right there, leadwithlogic7.com. I would ask that you guys go over there, check out some of the merch and put in an order so that we can get those shirts out to you as quick as possible. Man, for those of you guys who haven't, if you're watching this back, please, please, please like, like, and subscribe. Like and subscribe so that you can get the updates, so that you can, rush on in when I'm going live, and you can stay in tune with everything that I have going on. Yes, 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 yes. Man, what a evening it's been. It's Monday. It's another Blue Monday. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I I'm hanging on in there, right? I'm maintaining. Um Man, it's been so much going on. It's been a lot going on. I'm going to start this episode out with something that I saw that really, really, it kind of intrigued me, and it kind of made me shake my head. You know, if you want to get some must see TV, if you want to get some glued to the screen content, speak about Donald Trump. Show Donald Trump, because anything that man does, it's going to it's going to be highly rated. It's going to be, people are going to be all over it. Now, what's been new is, you know, troops have been deployed, and this is not the first time that we've seen troops be deployed in a major city in America, right? Remember in Los Angeles when when they had all the rioting? Remember in Los Angeles when they had all the looting? Remember Los Angeles when they were comparing it to the Wild Wild West, the Wild Wild West, doo 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 doo. Shout out to Cool Mo D. But remember, you know, they had deployed troops out there. Well, the newest city that they deployed troops to is Washington, D.C., the capital. Yes, they have sent them out to the capital. And, you know, it's been mixed reviews, right? It's been really mixed reviews. You have some people on the left who say this is a hoax. Some people are saying this is a obstruction of justice. Some people are saying this is something that is a violation of law. Then you have other people on the right who are saying, listen, these cities have been problems for years. You have people on the right who are saying, listen, the left leadership has not done a great job, right? Then you have people who are saying, well, these people aren't cleaning up their own communities and we can't have it. We have to have law and order. That was a dog whistle back in the day. I see there's two people in here. Listen, please, please, please hit the comments. I forgot to say this. If you're on Facebook, please, please, please post this to your page. Let your people see it. If they're into knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and good conversation, they want to come on in. Also, if you're watching from YouTube, send it out to 20 of your friends, 10 of your friends. Tell them to come on in. You did. Tell them this is a dialogue being executed and engaged and administered as a monologue. But y'all bring them on in. I know we're gonna get about 50, 60 people off up in here tonight. But no. But what I was saying was, you're seeing in these major cities, you're seeing the presence of federal troops, right? And some people aren't are not taking too kindly to that, right? People have now begun to say this is unnecessary, right? And what I've noticed in Trump's America, in Trump's new America, is that everything that he does, if you're from the left, you totally don't use any logic with it. A lot of times it's based in emotion. If you're from the right, it's the same, but it's the reverse. It's forward. So sometimes, you guys on the right are like just blindly going with it. But then there are people in the middle, or there are people on both sides that say, well, why would he do this? Does he need to do this? Is there a need for a presence in these cities? Have these cities gotten that bad There she is. You only live once. Peace, peace, peace. Good evening. Yes, yes, yes. Is there a need for this national presence? Do these cities really require this much policing? I mean, they just start carrying guns in DC. And we see, I'm gonna show you guys where, Trump threatened, hey, look, we're gonna bring troops to Chicago if y'all don't quit. And it's interesting. What's interesting to me, y'all, what's interesting to me is if you've ever been to these cities, you know that these cities are they have some areas that are very, very volatile, that are very dangerous, and that can utilize some sort of external help, right? As a young black man, I can tell you that a lot of the black cities that I've been in, I haven't always been in danger specifically, but generally a lot of these cities are very, very violent and very, very hostile. Depending upon where you are, who you're in close proximity to, it can absolutely be a jungle, right? I mean, let's be real, y'all. Can we be transparent, y'all? Like we've met people, and I'm talking to my people. I'm talking to black people, melanated black folks, right? We've met people. We know how in our culture, it's so it's such an unspoken, right? It's such an unspoken truth about the violence and the roughness in the inner cities that we even judge each other, right? One person moved out of the hood into the suburbs, another person goes from the suburbs to the hood. We, those of us who are left behind in the hood, we say, oh, they're not real out in the suburbs. They not tough because they don't have to deal with the hostility, with the hustle and bustle. They don't have to deal with the stresses that come with living in inner city life, right? This is something intracultural that happens, right? We now gauge your level of callousness or hardness by your proximity to the big city. We all know people who have done that. Oh man, he ain't tough, man. Y'all ain't tough out there. Y'all soft in the suburbs. Man, y'all ain't got to deal with what we got to deal with, right? And then I remember if you guys have ever seen Resurrection with Tupac, he said something that I thought was interesting. Y'all should go back and watch. On that movie, it's a documentary, right? It came out, I want to say in 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. But it was a collage, if you will, of clips about Tupac, his life, right? From birth to death. And the part where he moved to Baltimore was interesting. He talked about how Baltimore was the capital of teen pregnancy, the capital of violence, the capital of HIV. The HIV rate was very high, if I remember properly. He just quoted a lot of statistical facts that dealt with the pathologies that were the reality of Baltimore, Maryland. But something he said reminds me of these occupations in the inner city America by the National Federal Troops. He said, people think that just because we're black folks, we're not scared and that we want to live around the murderer. That's the furthest thing from the truth. We're scared too. We don't want to live in close proximity with these people. We don't want to live around someone that's going to harm and hurt people, right? And so that reminded me of when I saw these people, when I saw these cities being invaded by national troops, right? I said to myself, when I heard the backlash and I heard the outcry from all the different sides, I said to myself, wow, you know, what do the people think now? What do the people have to say? What do they have to say about this? Because I understand a lot of them are probably overjoyed that the National Guard have been deployed, because we know that a lot of inner cities in Black America, wherever you are, whether it's Memphis, whether it's Dallas, whether it's DC, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Philadelphia, wherever you're at, wherever you are, we understand how volatile the city is. We understand that when you live in these circumstances, anything can happen. We have family members that live in the hood. We have big mamas that live right smack dab in the middle of the projects, right? And by the way, the projects of the 1970s and 80s are not the same projects that they are in the 2020, the 2000s, and the 2024, 25s. It's not the same because the norms and the values aren't the same. We're not the same as a people, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, it's not the monetary worth of the place, it's the morality of the people inside of the place, right? You can have a $1 billion community and a 25-cent heart, and the property value is going to be decreased. But you can have a 25-cent property and $1 million mentality and morality, and the value is gonna increase. So we understand what's been happening over time. Our morals, our communal fabric, our overall culture, that we loved one another. We don't even have codes a lot of times, right? We don't have codes. And used to be a time when gangs, when hustlers, when criminals, they had a respect for civilians. If you've never been in the military, there's a Geneva Convention of War, Geneva, I forget what it is, Geneva Code Convention of War. It really stipulates how combatants, how people with guns, how people who have been deployed to a place where they're staging a war, how they are to interact with those people who are not there to fight. You couldn't just kill people in the war. You get tried for war crimes. They respected life, right? Even of people who weren't theirs. Sure, you had outliers. Sure, you had fools that were going to break the rules. But by and large, we do not mess with non combatants. That is a war crime. Brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you that used to be how it was. When you look at these gangs, when you look at the undesirable element in our community, that's always been there. But it seems that through the ages, right, as time has moved forward, and as we have now begun to change, right, we've now begun to glamorize the killings. We've now become a people that romanticize the people that destroy our communities. And now our culture is influenced by a whole lot of demonic and destructive forces that would only benefit and make it optimal for others that we stay up under their influence. What do you mean, Brother Faheem? A lot of the rap music, the gangster rap music, right? And let me say this, not all hip hop is bad. There are absolutely some artists out there that are worth looking into. And I'm not even talking about just Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, right? I'm talking about, you got to take it back, man. Black Thought, Common, Kweli, Most Def, or Yasin Bey, right? Big Crit, you know, Immortal Technique, even this cat D1, right? These are all people who make hip hop for the people, like KRS-One, like he always said. These are things, you know, peace, love, unity, and having fun. These are the thoughts of KRS-One. What? Hey man, it's always different artists out there that really promote community. But in the mainstream, the gangster rap that's promoted, that seems to be what the young people are influenced by. That seems to be coincidentally what's played on the radio, and it seems to be what is hindering our community, what is causing us now to turn on one another, uh, to degrade our women, to not respect our elders. And I've been a part of it. I'm not saying anything to you that I haven't said to myself or told my children that I've been involved in, because I have been involved. But as I gain more knowledge, wisdom, and most importantly, understanding, I understand that these are things that are going to have to be purged from the community if we are to move forward. Yeah, if we are to move forward. It used to be a time, brothers and sisters, that we could police ourselves. We used to respect elders. We used to didn't spit in front of our elders. We used to didn't curse in front of our elders. We used to wouldn't turn our music up, right? We used to help, and some people still do, but by and large, our communities have stepped away from that, and it's gone down into decay. That's not to say that it's not good people everywhere, y'all, because it is. There's some beautiful people in the on the south side of Chicago, on all this west side, north, the Wild Hundreds. It's beautiful people in these places. It's beautiful people in DC and Pentagons. What is that? PG County. It's beautiful. It's beautiful people in Pittsburgh on the Hill. It really is. We can't really paint everywhere with a broad brush because there's some people that are great, but again, by and large, when you see what's going on, when you read about the headlines and you say, wow, that is my people acting like that, killing ourselves. Aren't we wise enough to know that we're just perpetuating a cycle of death that our youngsters are going to adopt at our detriment as a group? But I want to show you guys something. Let me say this before I forget. I'm gonna try to make this one quick. You know, I mention all those things because when we get a hold of those issues, when we can now begin to amalgamate, when we can now begin to become a group collective, we romanticize about the 60s. The 60s was a great era where you saw great rebellion, you saw great leaders rise up. It was a time where you saw great revolution. But even before that, right, in the early 1900s and in the late 1800s, you had a lot of black wealth, a lot of black autonomy. You had a lot of black skill over black degrees, right? What do I mean black skill? People were skilled in different trades. People were skilled in different, vocations. People had real skill. They might not have had a piece of paper to tell them or to decree or degree that they were skilled, but they had skills. That's how a lot of these autonomous black towns and cities and enclaves were born, right? Because people now took what they knew and they created it with their hands. And it was something beautiful. It was something beautiful. But I just mentioned all of those things because you know, truthfully, if we are ever to get back with that, that's the foundation of it. That's what we have to get back to. We have to be able to police our own. We can't say that we want to be a people that is respected and we now can't get a firm grasp on what's going on in our communities. Yeah, we have to like Chuck D said, we have to keep ourselves in check or else it's self-destruction. But no, I want to show you guys something that I saw that I thought was very interesting. I saw it on Instagram and I said, "Oh, that's worth showing. That is worth showing." And so I'm gonna show this to you guys, and then we're gonna get on. We're gonna get along. I'm not gonna stay on here too long. I'm not gonna stay on here too long. Don't break us too long to do nothing. Yeah. Hopefully you guys are doing well on FB land on Facebook. Hopefully you guys who are watching me back, who are watching live. I hope you guys are doing amazingly blacktastic. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a blacktastic day. Now I am going to Now I'm going to play this message for y'all. What it is it is the Chicago. It's the Chicago mayor. It's Trump speaking about. It's Trump speaking about what's going on, but it's also the mayor of Chicago. He uh he has some words for Trump too, and so yes. Hold on. I'm gonna pull this up, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I appreciate the two of you guys who are there watching and paying attention and listening. It warms my heart. All right, so let's get into this.
President Trump said he may soon deploy the National Guard here in Chicago to focus on crime.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this.
Speaking from the Oval Office, a threat from President Trump that you may soon see federalized National Guard soldiers striding down Chicago streets.
So, look, we're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people of this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city.
You all stood up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in a $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaign and double down that you would not raise property taxes.
I won't raise your property taxes.
You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example at this right here first. Please come here first. Spend our tax dollars to go. Michael Rodriguez, you said to take Trump to court to protect these illegals. That's cool because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this is how it's gonna ride? I think not.
Yeah, that was Donald Trump saying that he was going to deploy the troops to Chicago. He was talking about the mayor, and that was the mayor, and that was a clip from a while back. That was when they declared Chicago a sanctuary city. I don't know if you guys remember that. What that meant was a lot of people who were from other countries. This was up under Biden. A lot of people who were from other countries were bused, were flown, were brought into Chicago to sit there temporarily while they were placed out into the United States. Well, where they put them was in impoverished communities on the south side of Chicago. And now you saw the angst, you saw the uproar because it was like, listen, from what my family told me, it was like, listen, you're putting these people in a place that's already devoid of resources. And so now we're already fighting over crumbs. And now you've placed more people here to fight, scratch and claw over the little crumbs that we already don't have. And so that's what you saw. That's why she was saying that she wanted to turn, Chicago red because Chicago is a blue state, democratically run. And that brings me to another point. A lot of these, I can see how the political rumbling revs up when it comes to stuff like this. Why? Because you know, when you look at excuse me, when you look at who are the mayor of a lot of these cities, Chicago, DC. I remember even the late John Lewis, him and Trump had some words during Trump's first presidency. And he said, he made a comment about the way Trump was running America. And Trump said, why don't you worry about that shithole district that you have that you can't help and that you can't control over there? And when you looked at what Trump was talking about, you said, well, he wasn't lying. That place it is in disarray, right? But I say that to say this. I think that's a lot of why it hits the way it's hitting as well, because everybody up top, all of the leadership, they're at ends. I mean, they're at odds, excuse me. They're at odds with Donald Trump. And so automatically those people who support their leadership in these cities, excuse me, in these major cities, they're automatically going to go against Donald Trump. And I understand it. It's the same way with the right? It's human nature. But again, I'm hopefully you can leave with logic so that maybe not you won't leave or you won't trade up or cross the proverbial aisle, but you will be able to see things in a more clear, justifiable, and logical, sensical manner, right? You're not leaning too much one way. You're right in the middle, looking for clarity. So let's go some numbers, y'all. This is real. Man, this is like basic. If this were a class, this would be like 101. It would be nothing super duper complex. It will be everything super duper easy. So this is what we're going to do. First and foremost, what I want to do is I want to show you guys some crime rates because that's been at the top of the list, right? People are asking, is this really necessary what he's doing? Or is he exaggerating? Is this a political ploy? Is this something that he's just pulling just because he feels like being a dictator? Right? Let's look and see. I'm going to show you guys. Let's see. Welcome. Listen, I already got one. It means there's two more people. If you other two will say, hey, what's up? Let me know who you are and where you from. And I appreciate you. Oh, somebody left. And then there were two. I don't think it's necessary. Okay. I can dig it. I can dig it. That is, I can respect that. I can respect it. So let's look and see what the numbers. Let's see what the numbers say. Now, I'm bringing this up. This is security.org. This is a website that does rankings, national rankings on what is, hold on, let me do this. On what's what as far as crime rates in cities, right? Let's do that. All right, let's do this. Okay. So here we are. So most dangerous cities, 2024 rankings for the 30 largest U.S. cities. The FBI released 2024 crime figures in August that show national crime rates continuing to cool. Violent crime fell around 4.5%, and property crime dropped about 8.1% compared to 2023. Though this is excellent news for the U.S. as a whole, crime rates vary widely by city. Some of the nation's largest cities still have soaring crime rates that residents should be aware of. To determine which of America's metropolises has the highest crime levels, we explored the latest FBI statistics and ranked the 30 populous cities nationwide. Okay, so here we go. Total crime, Memphis ranks high. Total crime, Memphis ranks highest. El Paso low, lowest among biggest cities. The total crime rate combines violent crime such as murder, robbery, and assault with property crime such as burglary, theft, motor theft. In 2024, the national total crime rate was 2,119 incidents per 100,000 residents. Okay. So now it says cities with highest total crime rate per 100,000 residents in 2024. Number one was Memphis. Number two was Portland. Number three was Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Number four was Seattle, Washington. Number five was Baltimore, Maryland. Six was Denver, Colorado. Seven was Nashville, Tennessee. Ooh. Eight was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Nine was Houston, Texas. 10 was San Antonio, Texas. That's wild. Texas has two of the they have 20% of the crime rates, right? Let's go over here. Now let's go up. Now, this is violent crime. Violent crime includes serious offenses such as homicide, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. The national violent crime rate was 359.1 per 1,000 residents in 2024, the lowest in roughly 20 years. But in some cities, violent crime remains above average. See, that's what I read about DC. While DC's crime rate had come down from 2023, 23 was a historic year. So you figure if you coming down off a historic high, you're still higher, right, than the average rate, right, of average cities. So it's good in the sense that it's not at historic levels, but it's bad because it's still above the national level. And that was what, I read regarding, DC, because I wanted to know. I was like, is it really necessary? I was like once, is it really necessary? I don't think it's necessary. But as I looked at the numbers, I was like, ooh, maybe it is necessary. So here it is. Cities with the highest violent crime rates per 100,000 2024. Number one, Memphis, Tennessee. Damn. Number two, Detroit, Michigan. Number three, Baltimore, Maryland. Number four, Houston, Texas. Number five, Nashville, Tennessee. Damn, Nashville getting bad. Number six, Denver, Colorado. Number seven, Washington, D.C. Number eight, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number nine, Indianapolis, Indiana. Number 10, Phoenix, Arizona. Ooh, Memphis is not a place to fool around with. Wow, that is now did I see? There you go. You got Baltimore at number 3 and you got Washington D.C. at number 7, right? Property crime, Portland and Seattle near the top of the list. Damn, it's Memphis again. Portland, Seattle, Denver, San Antonio, Philly, Nashville, Detroit, Houston, and Baltimore. Wow, 2 Tennessee cities and 2 Texas cities. That is amazing. Like my man, what's his name? The funny cat, Jesse Lee Peterson be saying. That's amazing. That is freaking amazing. That it's damn. Here go the crime rates in the top 30 largest cities in 2024. So let's go. When we're talking about these cities, right? Primarily that they're saying that they're going to be occupying. So this is total crime. This is violence, property, and population. Total VPP. Okay. So if we look, here's the total crime, right? This is the total crime. This is violent crime. This is property. And this is, what was this? Population. That's the population. Wow. So that's still pretty high, right? 45, 13.9, 4,500, 13.9. That's still pretty high. Chicago was not too far behind them, 4,012.2. Violent crimes, 539. Wow. Ooh, DC was higher than Chicago, see? But they talk about Chicago like Chicago was just the worst. And then you got property, 3472.4. Damn. And then wow. And Chicago has way more people. Look at that. Chicago has what? This is 2,698,698. 2,638,698 people. Look at that. Whereas DC only has 702,250 people. And the crime, ooh, that's crazy. So you see the crime rate is high. It's high in DC. Wow. That is crazy. That's crazy. So those are the numbers. And that's per security.com, right? That's not Brother Faheem. That's security.com bringing us the numbers from 2024. And so, when you look now, Chicago is still up there with a high crime rate. Let me see what we got. What's good? Good to hear someone speaking on this issue. Sure. I appreciate Poker Face James and Serene Music. I like how you spell Poker Face. That's dope. Yeah, man. This is something that has been all over the timelines. This is something that's been everywhere. People are talking about it because people are now upset. People are upset. They feel like, why is he doing this? What is this? Is this really necessary? And people thought the same thing when Los Angeles. You remember that? I remember a while back, Los Angeles had gotten kind of out of hand. They were acting a fool over in LA. And, people were like, what the hell? Why are we doing this? But I want to share something with you guys. Let's see what Trump had to say. Let's look at our great president. Yeah, let's look at our great president and see what he has to say. Because he spoke out and he said, well, I'm going to let him tell you. I'm going to let him tell you on what he has to say. But yeah. Let's see. Let's see what the news read. This is Donald Trump speaking about what's coming as far as, the troops in Chicago. Check it out.
According to the Washington Post, the Pentagon has been planning a military deployment to Chicago for weeks. The Post also reporting that plans could involve several options, including sending at least a few thousand members of the National Guard to Chicago as soon as next month. The Washington Post also reporting that there have been talks about using thousands of active duty troops in Chicago, but reports that plan is less likely to happen. Threats to deploy the National Guard to Chicago could come to fruition, according to the Washington Post, with possible plans to deploy as soon as September. This is all in support of what President Trump says is a crackdown on crime. National Guard troops have already been deployed in Washington, D.C., and this comes after Trump Friday alluded to Chicago being the next target. Despite these calls, Chicago police data shows violent crime is down in comparison to this time last year. Mayor Brandon Johnson had this to say at a block party earlier today.
One shooting, one homicide is one too many. And that's why this block club today is so powerful, because it's a reminder of how much work we have to do. Look at all of these young people and these families that are here today. This is who Chicago really is. What's being painted by the federal government is false. We love one another. We support one another. We put our arms around one another. We invest in one another because we know that we are our best keepers of one another.
Governor J.B. Pritzker saying in a statement tonight, in part, quote, Donald Trump is attempting to manufacture a crisis, politicize Americans who serve in uniform, and continue abusing his power to distract from the pain he is causing working families. And Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton referencing the Washington Post directly tonight, saying President Trump is trying to, quote, create chaos. Both Stratton and Pritzker say the state has not received any requests or outreach from the federal government asking for assistance, and say in return, the state has not asked for federal intervention.
Hey, man, we ain't asked for none of this. I never asked for a car. Did I ask for a car? Yeah. They're saying, look, dude, chill out. Like how they said, chill out, man. Kick back. We don't really need your intervention. We don't need your help. We're not looking for your help. I want to show you what some of the residents are saying online. People are going in. People are really going in on what's happening. Yeah, they're really, perturbed. Some people are real perturbed about what's happening. And other people, not so much. Not so much. But let's hear from some of those people. I'm looking for some people who are there, right? Who are there in DC, right? What they are having to say. Some of what I've seen online, right? What are people saying? Are they excited? Are they upset? I'm trying to show you guys if I can find it. If I can find it, and maybe I can. You know what? I don't think I can. But there were people who were on ground zero who were saying, dude, we're here. You know what? Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Here's let me show you something. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm looking for something that I can show you guys. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go back. See the best stuff. You can see so much good news on Instagram. You can see people speaking their mind. It's great because you cut out the middleman, right? You don't need a major network or broadcaster. You can just go right to the people, and the people will listen. But I saw some things and I thought to myself, ooh, wow. This is interesting. Now, these are people on ground zero. In order to come to an informed conclusion, you need to get 3 dimensions of what's being discussed, right? You need to get both sides and then potentially the side of whatever the case is or whatever it is being discussed. You get that side too. In this instance, we are going to get some sides from the people. We are going to get the sides of the people who are right there ground zero and see what they're saying. Yeah, let's take a look. And please, you guys, y'all can put in there what y'all would like. These are some people from DC. This is what they had to say.
I don't understand it, and I don't think I ever will. Why the fuck is people that's not from the city saying DC's not that bad? Why is a nigga from Denver, Colorado saying DC's not that bad and Trump is just trying to be a dictator? Gang, DC is fucking like Gotham City, bruh. Like, y'all do not know. Y'all out of towners, Mo. Mind y'all fucking business, bruh. 4 infants got killed in a month. This shoot is every day. Carjacking every day. The city is fucking wild right now, bro. And it might say it's the lowest it's ever been. That's because these niggas is not getting caught. There's so much shit going on. Y'all don't even know, bro. I'm recovering from getting shot in DC, gang. So for y'all out of towners to be like DC's not that bad and this shit don't need to be done, y'all don't know shit, bro. Like for real, y'all don't know shit, bro. What Donald Trump is doing right now, getting the homeless off the street and putting all these law enforcement people in throughout DC, that shit needs to be done good. I'm tired of fucking Gotham City, gang. I'm tired of that shit, bro. I'm trying to go to U Street and not have to worry about running from fucking bullets, bro. I'm sick of that shit, gang.
Yeah. Here go another young lady.
For all of you who are, and I'm talking to not even y'all, I'm talking like to celebrities and stuff that's saying, oh, DC's not that bad. Oh, DC's not this bad. Like, if y'all don't live here, shut the fuck up. It's innocent kids getting killed by stray bullets. It's women and children getting slaughtered in fucking DC. It's elderly people getting slaughtered accidentally in DC. Like, no, DC needs help. Trump is doing what he's supposed to do. Mothers, get your kids in line, play some games, plan some trips, get the fuck up out of DC. If that's the case, if your kids can't stay off the street, get your kid off the street. If your kid is between a baby and motherfucking 18, get something going with your child so they can stay off the street and then they won't have to worry about the National Guard. Thank you, Trump.
So, but I'd be remiss if I didn't play the other side because we believe in all perspectives being shared here. We believe in it. We believe in it. Yeah. Yeah, we believe in it. But you heard from some people on ground zero and what they were saying and how they were feeling about it. How they were feeling. So yeah. Let's see. Let's kindly find out. Let's listen to what. Because I remember, listen, now you might say, Faheem, that's just two people. You got to play the other side. I remember when Hurricane Katrina happened and that famous clip came where that brother was like, them damn levees, they got broke. They didn't bring nothing. They didn't bring shit. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that brother who was talking about it, who was talking about the levees, Hurricane Katrina? You remember that? He had complained and he was like, the government didn't hardly do a thing to help. They just let us drown, right? These people are just like that. These are people from ground zero that have perspectives and they have, what is going on. They have how they feel about what's going on. Let's see, how do Chicago residents feel about Chicago having National Guard, national troops? Let's see what the people have to say. So this is, I'm just putting in there what the people, what do Chicago residents feel? And we'll go from there. Let's see how they feel. I'll just let you guys see it. Forgive me, I'm looking. There we go.
To patrol that area. Well, this as President Trump weighs sending National Guard troops. Well, this as President Guard units have started carrying Washington, D.C., some National Guard units have started carrying firearms. The Associated Press says reporters saw members of the South Carolina National Guard outside Union Station with handguns as they continue to patrol that area. Well, this as President Trump weighs sending National Guard troops to other cities, including Chicago. NBC's Randy Gyllenhaal has more on the Illinois response, as the locals are wondering if the move is really necessary.
On this summer night in downtown Chicago, bustling crowds.
How do you feel in Chicago walking around?
I feel very safe. You know, I mean, it's like lovely. The weather's good.
And no sign of invasion, unrest, or civil emergency.
Do you feel safe in Chicago?
I've been here for just over a week now, and I haven't had any problem.
I don't think that we need military in Chicago, New York, D.C.
But President Trump said he will deploy the National Guard here to fight crime.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent.
The president could federalize the Illinois National Guard, but it would require something like an insurrection or massive unrest, all while Chicago is seeing shootings and homicides down 30%.
We still see an unacceptably high number of robberies, carjackings, burglaries, break-ins. We have work to do, but we need help that makes sense. The Federal National Guard isn't going to make a difference in carjacking in Chicago. So again, if he really wanted to help, we're short 2,000 police officers. Unfortunately, that is not what Trump is talking about.
In Washington, D.C., some National Guard units have started carrying firearms. The Associated
So there we see where the people were saying, hey, we feel totally safe. I've been here for over a week and I feel safe. Now, I have to say this. I have to put this in perspective. The part of Chicago that they showed you good people, you glamorous people, it reminds me of when you have company at your house. It reminds me of a family that has multiple children. And when they have company come over, your mother and father tell you, don't embarrass me in front of company, because if you do, it'll be hell to pay. And if the company knows that you have children, they might have a liking, they might have a favor with one of the kids. And so they'll, shine the child up, or they will just make sure that that child is the child that is seen and that is heard, right? They'll show you the child that they wash up, they brush his teeth or her teeth, put in a nice clothes, starch it up, clean it up. They won't show you the children that haven't bathed in weeks. They won't show you the kids that are hungry and you can see their ribs. Such is the story with America. I think it's a poem that something like I am the other brother, right? And the poem juxtaposes the duality or the hypocrisy that America projects, right? How they live, but what they want you to see of how they live. And oftentimes they're two different perspectives. They're two different things, two different realities. Now, where are you going with this, brother Faheem? They showed you downtown, brothers and sisters. They didn't show you in the South Side or the West Side in the hood. Absolutely. Any big city. Hell, Hollywood ain't that big. Do you know how many of you guys know that Hollywood is like a damn janitor's closet in comparison to all of out there in LA? Hollywood is not a huge district, right? So, and it's dirty from what I hear. I've never been, but I hear it's dirty at that. But when you see it, right, every time you've seen it depicted on television or in movies or in series, it's mostly depicted of palm trees and sunshine. And that depiction gives you the impression that that's all of Los Angeles. It is not. It is not. And we know that. Even if we haven't been out there, we know what Los Angeles has because we've heard stories and we've seen that darker side of it, right? And so I'm merely saying that they didn't really go into the inner city and show and get to survey and poll people. Because like Tupac in Resurrection, I'm pretty sure if they went to the South Side or the West Side or side where in poverty is, right, where there's suffering, where there is overcrowding, somebody is going to be inclined, somebody is going to be moved to speak up and speak out about those conditions. I'm not saying that was invalid because absolutely where they were, close to Magnificent Mile in Chicago, oh, that's a beautiful area. Don't you know that they're going to protect them shoppers and them businesses? Same in DC, Pentagon City, or anywhere, where it's affluent and people are coming there with currency to enhance and heighten the local economy with some pesos. Of course, it's always going to be, the grass is always going to be greener. The buildings are always going to be tighter, and they're going to have just enough room to shine that light on you. But when you go to the different areas where poverty lies and where a bulk of these numbers are being referenced from, the crime, that's going to tell a different story. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, that's typical though. You expect them to show only the better parts to get the national support, right? Hey, what is he doing? Chicago's not that bad. See, them brothers said they got along out there. What the hell is Trump doing? What is he thinking? I would say this. Well, you know what? No, I'm gonna show this. I'm gonna read this to you so that we can kind of get a little bit of history of how the National Guard has been deployed in the past, just so that you guys can know. The National Guard has been deployed to enforce the law before. What's different now? My eyes getting bad, y'all. President Trump's decision to assert federal control over Washington, D.C.'s police force and deploy National Guard troops to patrol the Capitol marked a stunning departure from governing norms, according to experts. Since Trump's order last week, hundreds of National Guard troops have set up on the streets of the nation's capital, and hundreds more are expected to arrive in the coming days. National Guard is a military branch distinct from others, and its soldiers answer to state and federal governments. But the president has the power to activate a state's National Guard without cooperation from the governor. Since D.C. does not have statehood, its National Guard answers directly to the president. So he can do that. That's absolutely legal what he's doing, right? For them to say it's illegal, no, it's not. D.C. is a district, it's not a state. I forgot about that. National Guard troops are a familiar presence during times of crisis. They are often deployed to assist in catastrophic weather events, Hurricane Katrina, riots, and even were used during the fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. During 2020 racial justice protests following the murder of George Floyd, dozens of states called on their National Guards to assist local law enforcement, including in D.C., where at Trump's orders, more than 5,000 troops patrolled the city to monitor the largely peaceful protests. Where has the National Guard been deployed before? It is not uncommon for governors or the presidents to call on the National Guard in times of turmoil. But that was not always the case. The nation's founders were initially wary of military intervention in domestic matters. Their defining experience with domestic deployment of the military was the Boston Massacre and the quartering of troops in private homes, said Joseph Nunn, an attorney at the Brennan Center's Liberty and National Security Program who focused on the U.S. military. People who drafted the Constitution were extraordinarily suspicious of military power, so much that there were vigorous debates at the Constitutional Convention about whether even to allow the creation of a national standing army or whether the new country should instead rely exclusively on the state militias, he said. Ultimately, the founding fathers would determine that state militias should exist to be deployed in domestic matters only in the case of emergency. The president for what would eventually become the National Guard. Since then, from as far back as George Washington, presidents have called on state militias to assist in federal matters. Washington himself led a contingent of the predecessors of the National Guard to suppress an uprising of Pennsylvania against an excise tax on alcohol in the famous Whiskey Rebellion. Lincoln called on state militia at the outset of the Civil War to help fighting Confederate turncoats, to help in fighting Confederate turncoats to the South. In more recent history, presidents have usually deferred to the wishes of the governors in assessing whether a National Guard presence is necessary. So, historically, we have seen presidents intervene and say, "Hey, we need National Guard," but it's been common, or it's been pretty much standard issue or the status quo, right, or the norm, the culture for the governors to preside, right? They take control of whether the National Guard presence is necessary. But during the Civil Rights Movement, presidents on some occasions used their authority to supersede states' rights to activate the National Guard. That was the case in 57 when President Dwight Eisenhower took control of the Little Rock, Arkansas National Guard to aid in the process of integrating public schools after Governor Orville Faubus had ordered the Guard to block the famed Little Rock Nine from entering a school building. In 65, President Lyndon B. Johnson exercised his authority to take control of the National Guard in Alabama and had the troops protect civil rights advocates marching from Selma to the state's capital, Montgomery. For 60 years, that would be the last time a president went over a governor's head to call on a state's troops to deploy. In June of this year, Trump broke that long-standing tradition by federalizing thousands of California National Guard troops in Los Angeles in response to protests against immigration raids, a situation that happens virtually never, according to Nunn. To find a circumstance in which the federal government has deployed military personnel into a state to assist with civilian law enforcement over the objections of the state government for a purpose other than civil rights enforcement, you have to go back to 1894 and the Pullman strike, Nunn said. So what we saw in Los Angeles, in that sense, has no precedent in modern American history. Trump doubled down on his rejection of political norms, again by activating the National Guard in D.C. against the wishes of local leadership to deal broadly with the issue of crime in the city. This idea that using the military for civilian law enforcement is a break glass in case of emergency kind of tool. What we are seeing is intense challenges to that principle, and the sort of normalization of military involvement in fundamentally routine law enforcement, he added. Well, what makes Trump's actions so different? Experts say a major problem with calling the National Guard in D.C. to address crime is that the military is not equipped to deal with law enforcement matters on a wide scale. So they have pretty much exceeded their reign. Although they have the mission of domestic disturbances, they don't get a lot of training in it. And they certainly don't get the extensive training and nuances that, for example, the police get. National Guard is meant to support police in enforcing the law, not enforcing it themselves, as outlined in the Posse Comitatus Act, which is meant to limit U.S. military interventions on American soil. As a result, they are often unarmed and do not themselves conduct arrests. But an Army official told NPR earlier this week that troops in D.C. may soon begin carrying service weapons. That would make me extremely nervous, Kantian said, because the police are trained at length about when they use deadly force, and even then they get it wrong. That played out in graphic detail in Ohio in 1970. That year, the governor, James Rhodes, ordered members of the National Guard to respond to college demonstrators at Kent State University who were protesting against escalating U.S. involvement in Vietnam. National Guardsmen would ultimately fire into a crowd of protesters, killing 4 students and wounding 9 others. There's also a fundamental difference in the way law enforcement are taught to perceive civilians versus what troops learn about the people on the other side, Kansian said. The military mindset is wrong, he said. The police look at the people in front of them as citizens who may be misbehaving, but they're citizens. The military looks at people out there and sees threats that need to be neutralized, and that can lead to bad things. I mean, we've seen them be neutralized with the police now, I'm not saying that means just arbitrarily send them in, but the police have conducted themselves seemingly like, I guess maybe some of those police that have killed people, right? Innocent civilians. Maybe they were from the military. They were from the National Guard. Jansen argues that the solution is an increase in local police presence rather than a standing order for the National Guard to patrol the nation's capital. I'm going to stop right there. And I want to say it was NPR. Yeah, that was NPR. You got to remember, NPR is a left, it's a liberal publication. So a lot of its undertones are absolutely going to be left wing. But make some great points. You know, historically they have done it, but typically they leave it up to the governors to decide on what happens. And we see now a lot of these governors, a lot of these mayors are absolutely anti-Trump. So they're going to say, you know what, a good bit of them are going to say, you know what, excuse me, a good bit of them are going to criticize and be contentious and be counter to what Trump is doing. But you know, I want to show different sides, different perspectives before I gave my take on it. Listen, when you ask people for help, and some of you are going to say, well, the leadership in these cities, these mayors, they didn't ask for help. Well, maybe they didn't, but the numbers are absolutely asking for help, right? I can see how they'd be like, you know what, this is unsatisfactory, right? But again, when you ask people for help, man, or let's say even when you can't control something or something's getting out of hand and it's been shown and proven that you can't help it at the detriment of the masses and the collective, sometimes you have to give up the reins, man. Sometimes you have to give up the reins. And we saw two different people. We saw people in Chicago saying that Chicago was good, but we saw people in DC with a totally different commentary, with totally different perspectives. Their perspective is these areas have been bad for years. They've been bad for years. And if we're not going to do anything, we're thankful that somebody did something. Right? We're thankful that somebody did something. And so, you know, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I know how it is living in Black America, and it's rough, even for Black Americans. It's very rough because we have one obstacle after the next. If it's not some sort of exploitation or abuse, you know, it's the guy who lives right across the street or right down the hall or right up under us. You understand what I'm saying? It's having to fight for everything, right? Even minute petty things. These are things that birth problems, that birth all sorts of pathologies that a lot of people who are just in close proximity become collateral damage. They become fallout just by fact that they're there in close proximity. And so, what are you saying, Brother Faheem? I'm saying that the hood has been bad. Inner cities have been bad. And I hear the brother saying, or I hear the guy saying, well, we need commensurate help, right? We don't need the National Guard. Well, if your city shows a record of crime where it's at optimum premium levels, what do you think is going to happen sooner or later? Sooner or later, someone's going to come in and say, you know what? We need to change this. And this is how we're going to do it. I think a lot of that is people being resistant to change as well. Because Donald Trump can work on how he delivers change, you know, at the rate, you know, he can rush in, you know, he needs to understand who can help him, who can advise him, who can counsel him, things like that. And then maybe he wouldn't get some of this pushback that he gets. So I can see that. But again, I can also see in my community how we have to take accountability if we don't expect other forces, other entities to come in and do what we should have been doing all along. You know, so I am going to jump off of here. I am a little bit on the tired side. Yeah, I'm a little bit on the tired side. But no comments. Anybody leave any more comments? It wasn't but two of us. Listen, I appreciate the people who popped in. I am going to jump off of here. Man, as Minister Malcolm would say, may we all meet again in the light of understanding. I will see you guys same bat time, same bat channel next week. And may we all meet again.